Today we are going over Swan Mountain to Breckenridge to see engine number 9, which was the last train to leave Breckenridge in 1937. So I got Annika with me, and so what we're going to check out is engine number 9, which was actually part of the Denver South Park and Pacific Railway. Now, that was a narrow gauge railway, but the tracks were laid over Boreas Pass in 1881, and that was the first railway system that came into Breckenridge. So in their heyday, narrow gauge railroads saw an explosion in the high country, and they were established to be able to serve an increasing population in the cities, and also to serve the mining and logging industry. Because of the narrow gauge, it actually allowed them to have a shorter turning radius, which made navigating mountain passes and the valleys up here much easier. But more importantly, they marked the birth of mountain tourism. So these narrow gauge railways had a massive impact on shaping the growth of mountain communities, as well as the traffic patterns that we still see today. And in fact, the Denver South Park and Pacific Railway operated from 1881, when the tracks were first laid, through till 1937. At that time, it was closed, and in 1950, the tracks were actually ripped up and paved over and formed what we now know as Boreas Pass Road. So engine number 9 first got into Breckenridge in 1882, and it was the last train to leave in 1937. Engine number 9 had quite a career. It served in South Dakota in the Black Hills, transporting tourists around. It did a stint on the Georgetown Loop down in Georgetown, Colorado, and even made an appearance at the 1939 New York World's Fair. 2010, after work between the Breckenridge Heritage Alliance and History Colorado, it finally made its way home here to its resting place, which is actually just a few feet away from this road, which is Boreas Pass Road, and that's where the original tracks that it actually ran on were. So operating in the high country is dangerous and brutal work, and the railways use special equipment to clear the passes. In addition to engine number 9, you can actually see one of the original snowplows. And so these were rail-mounted snowplows that either went in front of the engine or would operate independently, and these huge rotary fans in front operated a lot like today's snowblower, where it would crunch up the snow and then just violently push it out, either to the left or the right. In fact, you can actually see the directional little blower on top. And so the engineer would, depending upon where they were, would switch it to the left or right. But these were used to actually clear the mountain passes so the trains could get through. Thanks for tagging along, and very cool to see not just a representation of those trains that helped build Breckenridge, but actually get to see the trains themselves. So huge thanks to Breckenridge Heritage Alliance and History Colorado for making that happen. All right, later on.